Okay, so 4.7, we are doing word problems with parabolas. There is another typo. This is parabolas. Okay. All right. There's actually a couple other typos in here, but you'll get the point. All right, so with these, Jason is standing on the ground and throws a ball vertically upward, okay? So we're taking a ball and you're throwing it up, okay? Whatever goes up must come down. Okay, if you are standing, listen, because this is not difficult, but if you're not listening, you're going to miss things. Basically, if you're standing on ground level on Earth and you throw a ball up, however long it takes to go up, it's going to take the same amount of time for it to come down, okay? And we're going to talk about that more in just a minute, okay? But again, I would rewrite these equations with x and y, okay? And also write it in descending order. So I'm going to change this equation to be what? Yes, y equals negative 16x squared plus 80x. I would change things to have x and y because we understand x and y, okay? And then you want it in descending order. The reason why you want to make sure it's in descending order is because this tells you your a value and your b value. Your a is always with your x squared term, your b is always with your x. But if you leave it like this, a lot of people will put a as 80 and b as negative 16, and that is incorrect. So you need to make sure it's in descending order. Okay, so on here we need to decide what's going to be x and y. So this says, how high does the ball go? Do you think height is going to be with the x or the y? The y. Okay, so I'm going to put y here because this will remind us that we're getting the right answer in the right spot. Anybody can tell me how we decided it's going to be y? Does that make sense? Okay, so the original equation, she said because in the original one, h is in the y spot, which is height. Okay, how many seconds does it take to reach the maximum height? Seconds you think is going to deal with what? Time, t for time. So that's going to be your x, okay? And then this one says, when does the ball hit the ground? And we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So let's go ahead and find, thank you for not talking, the x and y value of the vertex. Right, Jet? Okay, so what is the equation for finding the x value of the vertex? X equals, good, negative b over 2a. So going back to our problem here, what is my a value? Not 16. Negative 16. What is my b value? And what would my c value be? Okay, so we're finding our values here. Negative b will be what? Negative 80 over 2 times negative 16. Good. So we get negative 80 over, and what's 2 times negative 16? Negative 32. What is a negative divided by a negative? Positive. And then you're going to reduce. So maybe most of you see we can reduce by 8, right? So we'd get 10 over 4, but then I can still reduce that to make it 5 over 2. So that is my x value of the vertex. But x is dealing with seconds. Do people normally say 5 over 2 seconds? No. What would they say it as? 2.5 seconds or 2.5 seconds. So my answer for B, I'm going to write as 2.5 seconds. Do you think I'm going to mark you wrong if you write 5 over 2 seconds? No, I'm not going to mark you wrong. But this just makes more sense. Okay? All right. How do I find the y value of the vertex? Plug it back in. So we're, I would do the y equals. So we're going to have y equals negative 16 times 5 over 2 squared plus 80 times 5 over 2. with order of operations, what do you always do first? Good, your exponents, okay? So when I do that, what does 5 over 2 squared make? 25 over 4 is correct, because you square both terms in there. Okay, and we'll go ahead and finish this off here, because this is really 16 over 1, right? So can we cross reduce? Yeah, okay, because 4 goes into negative 16 how many times? 4. So I have negative 4 here, and what's negative 4 times 25? Negative 100. Okay, over here, can I reduce the 80 and the 2? Yeah, 2 goes into 80 how many times? 40 times. And then 40 times 5 is 200, so I have plus 200. And what is negative 100 plus 200? 100. So what answer is that for? A. And that's going to be 100 what? 100 feet is correct. And then on C it says, when does the ball hit the ground? And so we talked about this person's on ground level, okay? So it goes up, it takes 2.5 seconds to go up, so it's going to take another 2.5 seconds to come down, which means that it'll hit the ball in how many seconds? 5 seconds is correct.
So you just add
You just double how long it takes to go up to get how long it's going to be down. Now, does anyone know when that will not work? Doubling it to find when it hits the ground. Does anyone have any idea? So, if they're not at ground level, for instance, if they're on a balcony or on a roof, if they throw it up, it's going to take, let's say it takes 2.5 seconds to come up. When it takes 2.5 seconds to go down, it's going to be at balcony level. So it's going to take even longer to hit the ground, correct? Do you guys remember, and this is kind of like a side note, so when you're finding, like when you're throwing something, let's say we threw it from a balcony, it throws up and then it goes down. This is the value that you would be trying to find. Do you remember how we find, this is an x-intercept. How would we find our x-intercepts? Set it equal to 0 and starts with an F? And factor. So when you're on a balcony or not at ground level, you're going to have to factor to find the value when it hits the ground, okay? But if it's not, you don't have to do that work. Okay, so let's look at example 2. So this is dealing with an arrow. This arrow is shot up into the air, okay? And it tells you all this information, and then it gives you this equation. What do you think is the first thing we should probably do? Rewrite it. Okay, so let's rewrite it. How will I write it? Perfect. Y equals negative 16x squared plus 96x. Okay, so let's go look at A, B, and C and try to figure out which one is our x value and which one's our y value. Right, Courtney? Yep. Okay, so how high does the ball go? Or, sorry, how high does the arrow go? Is that going to be our x or our y? Try again. How high? Height is going to be y. So I'm going to put y here. Okay, how long? Long is dealing with time, which will be your x. So I'm just going to put x with b. And then when it hits the ground, did we start at ground level? Did it say we started at a balcony or on top of a roof or anything like that? No. So this one I can just double to get my answer. Okay, you guys want to go and try this one on your own?
If you shoot an arrow, the guy better move because...
Okay, good to know. Note to self. If somebody shoots an arrow, you probably want to get out of the way. All right.
Especially straight up.
Oh my goodness. Do the math problem. I think we all know arrow safety. If people are shooting arrows, don't be by them. Okay? All right, but we're going to try to do the math.
But,
Courtney, we're done with arrow safety.
it's a good side note, though.
Why don't you try writing some of this down?
Okay. I did write something. I got it. Can I show it to you on my whiteboard?
Yes, show me on your whiteboards if you get the answers. There should be 3 answers. Remember, x value of the vertex is negative b over 2a. Perfect, perfect. So that's how you should start. Get your a, b, and c values. And get your x value of the vertex. The 3 is right, you just plugged it back in wrong. Perfect, good job. Question? Oh, you're fine. Can't believe you asked her doing that on purpose. And then your last for C is going to be what? Do you guys want another minute or do you want me to start? Good. Perfect. Nice. Good. You just plugged in like you just did wrong math. So A is the only thing that's wrong. So that means you just plugged in the number and you didn't simplify it correctly. Or there you go. Good. I know. Sorry. Perfect. That was fun. Thanks. Okay. Negative b over 2a. Perfect. Perfect. My a is negative 16. My b is 96. And my c is 0. When we do negative b, we get negative 96 over 2 times negative 16. So I have negative 96 over negative 32, which reduces to positive 3. That answer is what? For B, and it is 3 what? Seconds. Good. Okay, now how do I find the height or my y? Plug it in. So I'm plugging it into my equation. So I have y equals negative 16 times 3 squared plus 96 times 3. Always do your exponents first. 3 squared is 9. Negative 16 times 9 is negative 144. Plus 96 times 3 is 288. When you subtract, we get positive 144. And that is 144 feet. And since it took 3 seconds to go up and this person was standing on the ground, it's going to take 3 seconds to go down, which will make 6 seconds. Okay. Moving on. Oh, sorry. Are there questions? I didn't even ask. Are there questions on anything that I did there? Okay. I don't think there's enough time on this video to do the last one, so I'm going to stop it and do part 2 for my last equation. Okay.